It was just a really, I think just special experience all around, We talked to the team in our team meetings, Friday night, the night before the game, as we were already down there in the hotel, just to be appreciative of where the game of football, can bring you, right? Like, we were ready to play a Patriot League opponent in our nation's capital on a beautiful Saturday afternoon down there. And it was a special weekend. Great trip, great intensity by the guys, great execution. Obviously, I thought, we got out to a really great start in both halves. And then it really came down just the finishing and the executing in the fourth quarter. We were able to do that. So it was an awesome team win all around. Yeah, I think that just kind of speaks to the strength of college football, especially FCS football, in New England or in the Northeast, to play two teams in the top 25. Both teams were, playoff participants last year in the FCS playoffs. So it's a great challenge for us, obviously, in our second year of FCS football. But it's how we figure out where we are and what we need to do to get to where we want to be, if we're not there yet. So, to play a team like Fordham at their place on ESPN3, with them coming off a win versus an FBS opponent, them being ranked 22nd in the country, it's just a tremendous opportunity for us as a program and one that we look forward to. I think it's something we've always really emphasized here at Stonehill. The two things that we really hang our hat on defensively are our pursuit of the football and our disruption of the football. And something we talk to our guys about is being thieves, right? We want to take the football away from our opponent, right? Whether we score it ourselves or we get it back to our offense so that they can go score it. So it's something that we practice every day. We tally, strip attempts and obviously PBUs and interceptions throughout spring and summer practices. So it's something that's very, ingrained in our guys from a technique standpoint, So it's been great to see what you practice show up on a Saturday. Our ability to disrupt the football and then obviously, physically take it from our opponent has been huge these last two victories that we've had. So really, really proud to see how the guys have executed, and in such a big moment too, right? Later in the fourth quarter to come away with a takeaway and to help seal the game is awesome. Yeah, Fordham gives you a lot of difficulties with their offense in terms of like how they formation you. Teams look at them and I think they see the talent at quarterback and receiver, but their running back is an all-Patriot League guy who's a very talented player, and they do a lot to spread out their formations to lighten the box, right, so that they can run against you. So we have to be really disciplined in terms of how we align and how we react to some of those funky formations. We got to do a great job in coverage. Obviously, they force you to play some more man coverage or some more matchup coverage principles, and then it really comes down to making open field tackles and disrupting the football. You have to be able to rush the passer. You have to be able to get, force him to get the ball out on time. So we have to do a great job there. But you got to be able to play some tight coverage and force him to throw into some tighter windows than he would prefer to. So those are things that we've emphasized and will continue to emphasize all week as we prepare. I think from a defensive perspective, Fordham's really gone through an identity change from last year to this year. When you watch them last year, they were much more man coverage driven, very matchup driven, and as you know, that can be very successsul, or it can cause some problems for you. And this year they've really been more of a true kind of like quarters or zone team, and so as they kind of venture into that, you have to attack them different ways, right? And for us, it's always been about, we have to be balanced from a run pass standpoint. We have to be able to use tempo and formations and motions and to create some indecision, but also to create some advantages, in the run game or the pass game. And I thought we've done a really good job of that these last 2 weeks. Specifically, I think if you look on Saturday's game film, we really threw the kitchen sink in a lot of ways at Georgetown, and I think that's what we need to do and how we're going to be successful. It's not chaotic for us, but it looks chaotic for our opponent. So obviously we got to be able to run the ball effectively, protect the quarterback, and make timely plays in the pass game. That's anybody's recipe for success. Yeah, last 2 weeks, they've had 10 passing touchdowns in the last two games that they've won, right? So they've done a great job of being able to effectively drive the ball down the field. He's, their quarterback has a great arm. He's an FBS transfer kid, so he started games at a high level, and so he's definitely done a great job of distributing the football. They have some talented receivers. They have some tight ends that they'll split out and move around, and those guys run really well. It's probably one of the better receiving groups, top to bottom, that we're going to face, all season. So obviously, one of their receivers is, captain, all Patriot League, one of the best receivers in the country probably. So he'll present some matchup problems, and you have to have ways to try to force the ball elsewhere, within some of the situational passing downs. So it's big for us to create pass rush. It's big for us to play tight coverage, but also vary our looks, right? If you sit in the same thing, really good teams and good players are going to be able to take advantage of that over time. I think Jermaine's game this past week was interesting because I was actually surprised at how many yards he did gain, seeing the post-game stats live. I thought Georgetown did a good job of kind of muddying the box, but I think it just speaks to how consistently we were. It wasn't a lot of chunk plays. We had an explosive run play on the third play of the game, but other than that, it was just a lot of grind amount yards for us offensively, and for Jermaine, he did a great job, down in the red zone goal line area when we were able to, run the ball and make one guy miss and finish into the end zone. So I thought those two plays, those two touchdown runs were huge, right? Because we block it up, and then he's got to make the one guy miss that we can't block. So, and he did that. So that was huge. I just think it was a grinded out type of performance for him. And obviously for the offensive line, it was good to see that we were able to consistently run the ball. We didn't pop many big ones, but we were still grinding out 3, 4, 5, 6 yards a clip. So, we always say on offense, the big play happens when you least expect it. You just have to stay on the process, stay on the grind, and eventually, good things will happen. So, it was good to be able to effectively run the football last week. Yeah, it's great to see different guys performing or stepping up in big moments. Obviously, for somebody like Nigel Henderson, who's a freshman, right? Fortunately, he was able to early enroll after going to prep school for a half a year, so he was here for spring ball, which really set him up for success. Going into the summer, he was here all summer, and then into his first fall camp. He had a full spring semester of install and practice and training and development. So that's really kind of vaulted him into a spot where he can, be a contributing factor in our secondary and our defense this season. So, he's played a lot of snaps through these first 3 games at corner. He's made some really great plays. He's really great technically. He's a smart football player. He's got an edge about him. Like, he's very confident, which I think is huge. You have to be that to play defensive back. And, in that situation, obviously it was a play that they had run earlier in the game, and he was earlier in the game right at him. Same kind of call for us too, and he was a little late on his run fit the first play. We talked about that in the sideline. And they ran it again in the fourth quarter, and he showed up. He was there. He was ready to go. He made the correction. He was physical at the point of impact. And I think the other thing that's cool there, not only did we get the ball out, but we had 3 or 4 guys there ready to recover it, and they had one, the kid that fumbled. So from a pursuit standpoint, we talked earlier about pursuing to the football and being violent, finishing on the football. That was such a great example of both of those things for us defensively. I think it's just a great opportunity, right, to play another Patriot League opponent, to play a nationally ranked opponent on ESPN Plus, right, in Fordham, at Fordham in the Bronx. I think we have a lot of guys on our roster from New York City, from the the New Jersey, Connecticut, New York metro area. So it's a little bit of a homecoming for them. But I just think it's a great opportunity for us as a program to go on the road again and to play a great opponent and hopefully play them tough and play them close and come out with the win. So I was just really, last week, one of the things we were just really blown away by the support. I think when we came out, prior to kickoff, like it felt like a home game. Like there was more purple in the stands in Washington D.C. Than any other color. So it just, it was just really cool to see how our fans and alumni and families have traveled, and I expect the same will be the case here this weekend at Fordham.